This is On the Loose with Steve, George, and Bob. Bob couldn't make it because he had a problem base jumping off of the Redondo Pier. So, Bob, we dedicate this to you.
Okay, we are in Kodachrome State Park. Kodachrome. I don't see Paul Simon singing his Kodachrome song. We wimped out last night. We were supposed to camp here last night, but it was 34 degrees at about 5 in the evening, and snow flurries were coming down. So we found a comfy days inn. We found a barbecue place in a little town called Panguitch. But we're all set up now, getting ready for our Utah trek. George just is going over last minute items. We're going to leave the food in the car. Oh, yes, this is patent pending for dragging things out of the bag. No one's ever thought of this before. George, actually, probably maybe I want to delete this sequence in case someone viewing might steal your idea.
So this is sort of like two comedians getting coffee, except that we're not nearly as funny. We're talking about stuff at our age now where we need to make a list verbally before we go out. Do we have our wallet, comb, phone, brain? And in this case, of course, we're looking for a walking stick that may have been on the top of the truck. So we're heading back to camp, hoping to find it laying in the middle of the road. And there it is, in the middle of the road, right there. And no one's run over it.
Angel's Palace Trail. It's just a warm-up for us. Tough guys like us. It's only 1.5 miles, no indication on elevation change, but it's supposed to have a spectacular view of the valley, so that's what we're hoping. We're going to do this as a little warm-up, and then
I don't think we're all that far up in terms of altitude, maybe around 7,000, 7,500. I find myself a little bit winded, which means I need to be working out a little bit more.
Well, we were down there just a couple of minutes ago. And considering how far down there is.
Well, the problem with folks in your film is they never do what you tell them to do. George is supposed to be walking toward me, but that's all right. So we're at a slightly different place. Again, of course, great views. Later on, I'll be able to tell you how these mountains were formed tens of thousands, maybe years ago, but unfortunately we haven't come to that sign yet. But what we have come to is the end of this particular trail. You can't go any further without serious jeopardy of going down that side or going down that side, and it's a long ways down. So I think that's it for this trail. I'm going to turn around and go back as well. This ends the Angel's Loop segment of our little adventure. We're almost back to the car, so just to give you some closure, we made it safely. We didn't fall off any cliffs. And we're going to go home and do some lunch and then do the next trail. Well, we didn't get enough trekking this morning at Angel View, so we are, after a brief spot of lunch, we are now on our way to the Shakespeare Trail and Sentinel Arch. The literature says that this is the only arch in the park, so we've got something to look forward to, and so will you as soon as we get there and find this arch.
So here we are already at the Shakespeare Arch. Let's see if we can get that into view. So there it is. How do we know it's Shakespeare Arch? Well, there's a little plaque up there that says 1543 on Shakespeare's one and only visit to America and the Southwest. He walked across that arch, and out of that gave him an idea for several of his plays. Well, that's our trail over there in the distance, but we're turning around and going back because we think that trail ends up at a very steep sort of chimney pipe that neither one of us would try and traverse down. So we're going back now safely. Maybe we should say we're going back the old guy's way.
That's the old guy's way.
Yeah, the old guy's way. No, not too old. It's the older guy's way. Not old guys, just older guys. All right, so here we are for our first dinner on the trail here. It's my turn to cook, so we got ready pack lettuce. We got important beverages, tomatoes, and boy, are we going to enjoy this lasagna. 2 cups of water right in the bag, and then we have stuff for dessert, and don't forget the hors d'oeuvres over there. I mean, this is real high profile. I need to move over here.
Yeah, because well, you're in the shadows.
Ah. We're on our way to Escalante, about 30 miles ahead. After that, a few more miles to Calf Creek. 3-hour hike. Hopefully we'll be rewarded with a waterfall at the end of that, and then of course it's 3 hours back. Or is it 3 hours round trip?
I'm hoping it's 3 hour round trip.
We'll soon find out. We haven't reached our destination yet, but we just pulled out onto a side road to view all of a sudden this panorama unfolding before us. And what's noting, or worth noting, is that road that's down there below. We're going to be down there in a few minutes. That road was built in 1935 by the Civilian Conservation Corps as a way to provide jobs for the unemployed during the Depression. It's known as the $1 Million Route. They used tons and tons of dynamite to blast through the rocks. Prior to that time, it was just a wagon trail. It's closed during the winter. It was also a creamery route from farmers, where these farmers were, but they were shipping their cream to Boulder. And during the summer sometimes, the cream would ferment and blow the tops off of the pails, coating the rest of the mail bags in fermented cream. Somewhere out there in the far destination is another state. Not there yet, but we're getting close. Escalante River Trailhead. We are at the Lower Calf Creek Falls Trailhead. George is signing in just in case we go missing, if we're eaten by a puma or something like that. We have a little bit of a water crossing, although I think there's a bridge or some big rocks or something to the left, I hope. So it's about a 6-hour jaunt. I'm sorry, let me take that back. It's 3 hours, 6 miles, 3 up and 3 back. And if we make it to the end, we're rewarded by a waterfall. Well, we haven't found that beaver pond yet, but we're working on it. Maybe just around the bend. Of course, just around the bend is sort of like a kid who says, "Are we there yet?" And the parents say, 20 minutes. Well, somehow we walked right by the beaver pond, so you're going to have to make do with this particular scenic shot as we continue on our way to the falls. We've been walking along this nice little stream now for about the last 30 minutes. We think we're almost to the end because we can hear screams of laughter and shouting. I think there's a pool where you can swim if you can brave the coldness of the water, so we'll probably catch up with all those young folks that you saw at the very end of the trek. For the very beginning of the trek. Well, we didn't see many people on the trail, and there was a reason for that. It's because they're all here. And we even have a happy dog in the water out there. So with the water coming off, it is actually a little chilly because of the wind in the canyon, excuse me, not the camera. All right, well, we're heading back. It's going to take us probably about an hour and a half to get back. We're going to do about 3 miles.
I don't know if I'll take as many shots because it's stuff you've already seen only from the reverse angle. But if it's interesting, I'll shoot it. So somewhere, way down there at the end, is where we're going. Like I said in the last segment, it seems like a lot longer this time. Well, this is the end of day number 2. We had a good hike. It was about 6 miles. We stopped at a place and had burgers and beer. We came back to our little campsite and got packed up and prepared for tomorrow. And then we consumed, well, okay, I consumed most of it, a bottle of Clos de Vaux, Chardonnay. So we're all ready to start out tomorrow for a whole different area, a few miles north of here, about an hour's drive. Coral Reef has some interesting geographic formations. So that's it for this evening. It's a lot warmer than it was 2 nights ago. All right, it's 7 o'clock on day number 3. And we are getting ready to depart for Capitol Reef.
You're
A few miles north.
you're batteried up.
I'm batteried up. Well, here we're...
600.
Yes, 9,600 feet. Looks like it, feels like it. On our way to Capitol Reef. But it's bleak beyond belief. On our way to Capitol Reef.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, really. Well, we'll see if that segment makes it in. So we are arriving in Capitol Reef. We just had lunch at the only place in town. We're now on our way to do a short trek afternoon, and then we're going to go look at some petroglyphs, and then we may drive by a Fruta. That was the name of a little Mormon town, which is now no longer. Some historical things. So, welcome to Capitol Reef. No, you sure don't see microphones like that anymore, but you don't see sights like this every day either. Okay, so it says do not enter if a storm is coming, and we are now on a bad road. Probably not 20 miles of bad road, but we're looking for the end of it.
This is where we're going?
I don't know, we'll have to check the signpost. That may be just a piece of the promise. Yeah, I think we keep going. That's where we're going. Well, here's the beginning of the trailhead. This is the Grand Wash and Cassidy Arch. The Cassidy Arch is supposedly named after Butch Cassidy, Robert L. Parker, in real life. Whether he was actually here, who the heck knows. But he did hide out in this area occasionally. So maybe we can find what's left of him somewhere up that canyon. Unless, of course, he really did die in the shootout in Bolivia. Or was that Argentina? Somewhere in South America.
How are you doing?
So we just turned off of the Grand Wash Trail. We're now on the Cassidy Arch Trail, and we are heading up to see the arch. So this is technically not a difficult trail, but it is a little rocky at certain points and a little narrow. Nothing worth falling off over on the side. At least not yet. Well, that's where our trail goes, up and to the left. I think they may have named it Cassidy Arch, but Butch liked his horses, and I don't think he probably would have been able to bring his horses up here. So It's probably just named in honor of him.
He would have kept going out.
Probably.
And there's only one way they can get you,
And that way is, yes.
going the same way you did.
Right. Well, higher and higher we go. That's the Grand Canyon that we were originally in. And we came from somewhere down there. Well, at this portion of the hike, there's good news and good news. The good news is we don't have to go up there. The other good news is, well, those are some pretty spectacular rock formations. So I really like these well-marked paths. Actually, it's been a pretty well-marked path so far. We're just assuming right now this is kind of the right way, and at a minimum, we're going up. Well, there's the path. Okay. So there's the end of our, try that again. There's the end of our trail, the top of the red rock to the left. We just have to get ourselves over there. We think we know the way, but it's not a well-marked trail at this point. So we're on the rocks. We see people coming the other way, so we think.
What's that?
Well, I'm just talking to the camera. Talking to our adoring fan club that's watching this right now, just wondering how in the world we were able to do this, and only in such a few time with such a few steps, without even breaking a sweat. That's what they're wondering. So here we are at Cassidy Arch, and we have a daring young man over there to do some rappelling, and you are the photographer?
No,
You're not.
I'm just a hiker.
You're just a hiker. I thought maybe you were going to immortalize his events. So that is a long way down. It's the Cassidy Arch. You can be sure that Butch was probably never here because he never left his horse, and there's no way horses are getting up here.
You're good. You ready?
So lots of folks are getting ready to do pictures. We'll hang around for a while and see if that guy jumps off and rappels down. Site. We haven't heard any screams as he hits the bottom, so perhaps a successful rappel. You saw it here first at the Cassidy Arch. Well, alright, I shouldn't be up here, so I'm going to make this quick. This is the highest spot. The Cassidy Arch is behind us. That's the valley that we came through. Down there's the road we came on. It's a hell of a long ways down. But you know what they say, it doesn't hurt for the first 1,000 feet. It's only that last foot that really hurts. That's kind of where we've been and where we're going back, and that's the end of this segment. Monday morning, day number 4. This is our last day. We're going to do a couple of short hikes, and then we're going to start back taking Highway 12, billing itself as the most scenic highway in America, actually the world, number 2 after someplace in France. So we're at that proverbial fork in the road. We're going to take Hickman Bridge, which is really not all that far to the left. Then we're going to come back here and try Rim Overlook, and if we're really motivated, keep on going to Navajo Knobs. But we'll see how our level of motivation is when we get back to that corner. So we're just minding our own business. We walk around the corner, and there it is. The arch. What can you say about an arch, George? It's a nice arch, one of the nicer ones we've seen. Not that we've seen all that many.
No, but it's higher and I think a little more impressive than some of the...
Yeah. Formed millions of years ago, most likely.
Little monkeys chipping away at the sandstone.
Yeah, and then they had to move on to somewhere else, so
Wrote, Beethoven.
haven't seen a single monkey
Yeah, huh?
the entire trip.
Hanging away for 20 million years, that's what you get.
It's too bad because they did nice work. So we're almost right under the arch. Here's just a quick shot of what it looks like to be up close. This thing, of course, is millions of years old, and it's probably going to be here a lot longer than George and I, or anyone else watching.
Not millions of years old.
Well, that's a good point. I may have misstated that. It's only the arch. Well, we made it back to the fork in the road. We are now on our new trail, the Canyon Overview, or whatever it's called. The first trek we did this morning was short, and it fell into the easy category. This is a couple miles longer, and it... Well, so thank you very much. So this is a couple of miles longer, and it falls into the strenuous category, which is probably a good way to cap off all the treks we've had over the last 4 days. So we're on our way somewhere up there, following that trail. Well, we're on our way to Navajo Knob. We're looking back and down into the canyon. I think that the last Navajo was actually seen here on July 17th, 1874, and then after that they all moved down to the Arizona area. But it's kind of like the Cassidy Arch. Butch Cassidy never visited there. It's just good marketing. So on our way to Navajo Knob. Well, we have reached Lookout Point, and look out, it is. There's the valley. The ranger station is down there. Those are the vineyards, not the right word, orchards. Those are the orchards of the little town of Fruita, which was established in 1874. Forest Service, federal government bought them out in 1959, but in 1874 they were Mormons raising crops, apples, pears, peaches, things like that. But you have to question their town naming creativity. Fruita. Can't you do any better than that? I mean, like God's Green Valley or Paradise Gulch. Oceans of Orchards. Fruita's not very creative. But hey, I wasn't there. Maybe there's I know there's fruits, but... So our big decision now is to whether to continue on to Navajo Knobs, because it's been a bit of a climb up here, and we may be having second thoughts about continuing on. It's another 2.2 miles, which doesn't sound like a long distance, and it's not really. That's only 8 times around a high school track, but this has more ups and downs than a high school track, so we may turn back. But if we don't, you'll be the first to know. All right, we've made the decision. We're turning around, we're heading back. You can see the road in the distance. That's where we're going. It's all downhill from here. We're still headed down, about halfway. You can see a couple of trekkers over on the other side of the canyon. That's where we have to go. We first have to go in that direction though to get across the canyon, and then back, and once we go around that butte, we'll be like horses heading for home.
It's recording.
Well, that completes our trek here in the Fruta Valley. It also completes our little show. Thanks for watching On the Loose with Steve, George, and Bob. Well, it's a good thing that you made it all the way to the end of our little adventure over in Capitol Reef and Kodachrome, because as an extra added bonus feature for you watching all the way to the end, we're going through Zion National Park. So we'll have little snips and segments as we go through here. All right, so as we traverse through here, the thing that occurs to me is Zion National Park is really pretty spectacular and pretty cool, but when you compare it to Kodachrome and Capitol Reef, they're all up there together. So those of you Zion National Park fanatics, I don't want any emails, don't want any phone calls, no texting, because it's still a pretty spectacular park. But now that I've widened my field of view, there's some competition for Zion National Park. Having said that, of course, now we probably will not see any bighorn sheep. They probably are all turning tail and heading back up the hill. Well, we still have not seen any bighorn sheep. There's a little bit of a spring waterfall left right over there. We might have scared them all off with our snippy comments about Zion, but I don't know, the more I drive through here, the more I have to revise my thinking. This is pretty spectacular. And we should be coming up, I think, pretty soon to a tunnel or two. All right, and here we go for our first tunnel. Right through solid rock. Well, our next tunnel is coming right up.
Tunnel, Jesus.
So this is a one-lane tunnel. There's a sign back there that said to remove sunglasses and to no stops in tunnel. So we've got about 12.5 cars up ahead of us. So we're going to get to go in a minute because the oncoming cars just passed us by. So it'll be our turn in just a moment. We've got a few more to go here. Well, that was a window and we didn't have enough time to focus. But here is a light at the end of the tunnel, and it's not an oncoming train, it's us on our way out.
The trail is way down here.
Right. So we have a little bit of a traffic jam here. There appears to be some road work going on. Some cars on the other side are being held up. That may be about the most suspense I can generate for this little segment of the film. But we got some spectacular shots across the valley. We're nearing the bottom at last. Just a shot back up the canyon. Well, we're nearing the end of the canyon. We've got Still a little ways left to go. So we're going to leave you here. Thanks for watching this bonus segment of On the Loose with Steve, George, and Bob. And as far as comparing Zion to Kodachrome to Capitol Reef, maybe it all just comes down to a case